Hello and welcome to Embrace the Deception. In this video we're going to be looking at Philippe Padoux. He's currently in prison and I want to keep this YouTube friendly. He had unprotected relations with multiple women, and he's in prison for knowingly infecting them with HIV. He claims that not only is he innocent, he's actually the victim, and that his girlfriend of 4 years is the one who gave him the virus in the first place. That's what he has to say, but let's see what his body language tells us.
Where do you think you got HIV from?
From Diane.
You can sit here today looking at me in my eye.
Yes.
Tell me that Diane...
Absolutely.
When the interviewer asks him where he thinks he got it, he says his girlfriend Diane.
Where do you think you got HIV from?
And right there, we see a little micro expression of contempt. Watch the corner of his mouth right here. I'll go frame by frame, and you see that one corner of his mouth start to go up. The other one also starts to go up a little bit, but this side goes out further and faster, and that asymmetrical smile, for lack of a better term, is contempt. And then there's eye blocking, an extended blink that's blocking something. Now, those two red flags could be a sign of deception, but in this case, they also could be a sign of truth. If you think that you were the victim of something and you're being asked about it, you might do eye blocking because you don't want to think about it, and you might show a little bit of contempt because this person did something to you, and it would be natural to feel some contempt toward them. So those red flags could be a sign of deception. They also could be a sign that he's telling the truth in this particular case. So let's continue on, but let's look at that one more time. Watch for the eye blocking and watch the corner of his mouth for that little micro expression of contempt.
Where do you think you got HIV from?
From Diane.
You can sit here today looking at me in my eye.
Yes.
Tell me that Diane...
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little further and see how he answers the next question.
We were never mutually exclusive.
So you were not exclusive. So what you're saying is you had an open relationship to date other people.
Diane was bisexual. She admitted being bisexual. She saw other men and other women throughout our relationship.
Okay, so he claims that they never had an exclusive relationship, that his girlfriend was bisexual and had multiple partners. But I saw some things in his body language that say otherwise.
We were never mutually exclusive.
So you were not exclusive.
So there was some extended blinking, like having his eyes closed a little longer, and then a increased blink rate. That's blocking. People often do that when they're not being truthful.
So what you're saying is you had an open relationship to date other people.
So there was the flutter when she says she's confirming with him you had an open relationship, and he starts eye fluttering. That's more blocking. Having your eyes closed or doing that rapid flutter is almost the same thing.
What you're saying is you had an open relationship to date other people.
Diane was bisexual.
When he says that Diane was bisexual, he's got the believe me look, or what Greg Hartley from the behavior panel calls the request for approval. That's what you do when you want someone to believe you. So two red flags together makes a cluster, and that's a sign of possible deception.
She admitted being bisexual. She saw other men and other women throughout our relationship.
There's one more thing I just saw there, and that was one eyebrow going up. When one eyebrow goes up like that, it's an emblematic slip of a shrug, meaning you're uncertain about what you just said. So in the first part, when he's answering this question, his eyebrows are up for a long time in that believe me look. Then as he's continuing to talk about it, his eyes go up a couple of times, and that's nothing to be concerned about. That's just emphasis. It's also what's known as an illustrator. Illustrators are often like talking with your hands to describe something, but you also see emphasis illustrators in facial expressions. It could be in your eyebrows, so that's not a big deal. But then we see one eyebrow move, and that one eyebrow move is often a sign of deception. Okay, I'm just going to go back through his answer to this question, and I'll point these things out as I see them in real time.
We were never mutually
Eye blocking.
exclusive.
So you were not exclusive. So what you're saying is you had an open relationship to date other people.
More eye
Diane was
blocking,
bisexual.
believe
She
me
admitted
look.
being bisexual. She saw other men and other women.
There's some illustrators there, and then boom, the one eyebrow right there. Watch this one eyebrow.
Other women throughout
Right there.
other women throughout men and other women throughout our relationship.
So that one eyebrow shrug is a definite red flag.
Padu also alleges they even went to swingers clubs around the world together.
She was involved in the swinger set before I met her.
When he said she was a swinger, there's more eye blocking there, so that's a sign of possible deception. And then, of course, his girlfriend at the time denies having ever been involved in a
Diane
swingers
denies.
club.
But I also feel that they were guilty of sin. I mean,
Do you,
Okay, did you see that? When he says he feels that they were guilty, he thinks he's the victim. But when he says, I think they were guilty of sin, he starts shaking his head. So if you think they're guilty, you're saying, I think they're guilty, and your head's saying, no, I don't.
they were guilty of sin. I mean,
So
do
there's a
you
little head
admit
shake
that you
there.
had unprotected sex with all these women? Yes or no?
yes, but that doesn't mean I infected them.
So there was a little micro expression of anger. Watch his eyebrows right after she asks him the question.
They were guilty of sin. I mean,
Do you admit that you had unprotected sex with all these women? Yes or no?
See that? The eyebrows come down just for a moment and then back up. So a micro expression is not necessarily a sign of lying, but it is a representation, a true representation of someone's emotions. And they're usually very fast, a half a second or less, sometimes as little as a 25th of a second. But if you see a micro expression, that is a true representation of that person's emotions. And of course, he's got the lip compression there too, so he doesn't like this
Do you
question.
admit that you had unprotected sex with all these women? Yes or no?
So with the lip compression and sucking the lip in and the micro expression of anger, I don't think he likes that question, because if he has to admit having multiple partners, it makes him look like he might be guilty of what he is currently serving time for.
yes, but that doesn't mean I infected them. It just means
So he answers yes, which is truthful, but then when he says it doesn't mean I infected them, we see a little one shoulder shrug over here, which means that he doesn't necessarily believe that.
that doesn't.
This shoulder does go up a little bit too, but that could just be because his body is moving. This shoulder goes up more, and that one shoulder shrug is almost always a sign that you're unsure of what you're saying. That's a pretty big red flag.
Yes or no?
Yes, but
So there's that
doesn't mean I
shoulder.
infected them. It just
So that doesn't mean I infected them, but I'm not sure he believes that. I think he knows that he infected them.
means that they, at the time, they were having a lot of partners. One of them, I think, admitted having 10 to 15 partners.
Let me ask you this. Do you at all, sitting here today, take any ownership in any of this at all?
Well,
There were some interesting things there, so let's back that up just a little bit. She's asking him if he takes ownership at all, if he's got any even shred of guilt in this, or if he's just purely the
10 to
victim.
15 partners.
Let me ask you this. Do you at all, sitting here today, take any
So there's the lip licking. So I think he finds this whole thing distasteful.
ownership in any of
And then there's a bit of a false start. He's going to answer the question, and then he stops. That's also often a sign of deception. You're going to answer one way, and then you think, maybe I should say something else.
this at all?
Well,
And then the hand coming up to the mouth. That one's really interesting. It's like you're going to say something, and then you want to stop yourself from letting the truth slip out.
Do you at all, sitting here today, take any ownership in any of this at all?
well, of course I was promiscuous and I didn't use.
So he is licking his lips. He's uncomfortable. Then he does that false start. I'm going to say something, and then no, I don't want to say something. And then he admits to being
all the
promiscuous
right protection, and I wish
and not using
Do
protection.
you at all, sitting here today, take any ownership in any of this at all?
Well, of course I was promiscuous and I didn't use all the right protection, and I wish this hadn't happened to some of these women. I wish we had better common sense and knew more about HIV. But what these women did, they ended my life. So I wish they burned in hell, basically, and Diane especially, in a dark place in hell, because they lied, they denied, they committed fraud, perjury.
So I don't know if you noticed there's when he's saying they lied and they committed fraud, there's some subtle possible head shaking. It's kind of moving around. But then when he says perjury, it's a pretty obvious head shake.
In a dark place in hell, because they lied, they denied, they committed fraud, perjury.
Perjury. So when you're saying something in the positive, they did this, but you're shaking your head as if to say no. It's like you're saying they did this, but your head is saying no, they didn't. And then that's pretty much where the video ends here. So what do you think? Is this guy a victim? If you think he's a victim, go ahead and give this video a thumbs down. If you agree with me and you think he is where he belongs, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you like this video, please comment, share it, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.